Only got indicted once. He got indicted. I got indicted 4 times because I'm questioning a crooked election. But we're not questioning it. We know the results. We know it. And when we go through courts, if we ever even have to do it, because you have presidential privilege, and also we should never have to do that. But if we do, we want to redo the election only from the standpoint, we want that election. We want to look at it very carefully. We have so much information. There was so much corruption in that election. You take a look. It's incredible. Just the other day in Georgia, 3,600 votes that were duplicated so that you had double votes. Almost all of them were for Sleepy Joe Biden, right? Every single vote. You take a look what they do and what they play and what the Democrats have done for a long time, but it's a disaster. And we have to get in and we have to clean it up, and we want to go paper ballots. We want to go voter ID, same-day election. No more mail-in ballots. We don't want mail-in ballots. That base, we have to go out and earn it. And like in 2016, we just ran the whole East Coast of the country, and that made up for California, which I actually believe that if they didn't have rigged elections out there, if they didn't have all the paper ballots, they send out like 36 million ballots, and nobody knows where the hell they're going to or coming from. I think a few people know where they're going to, and a few people know where they're coming from. But I think if you had a real election and Jesus came down and God came down and said, I'm going to be the scorekeeper here, I think it would win there. I think it would win in Illinois, and I think it would win in New York, which is all places that, in theory.
I gotta give Donald Trump credit for one thing. Just when I think he couldn't get any more delusional, he figures out a way to do exactly that. So it's difficult to figure out where to start, but I'm pretty sure that him saying he should win in California, New York, and Illinois is a pretty good option. And look, what I'm going to take away from this is a bit different from what you might expect. I'm actually happy that Donald Trump is out here saying that he should win in the most liberal states in the country, because it betrays the fact that he's actually just spewing blatant bullshit to his own supporters. And look, I'm as aspirational as the next guy when it comes to what I hope my preferred candidates can do, but I also am reasonable enough to recognize that just like Joe Biden isn't winning Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana, Donald Trump is not winning California, New York, and Illinois. And by the way, Donald Trump knows that too, and presumably, or hopefully, his supporters also know that, and so the fact that Trump would say it anyway should serve as a blinking red light to those people that this guy spews bullshit like a fire hydrant. If he's willing to lie about the most blatant stuff, like a Republican winning statewide in California, then just imagine what he's willing to say about the more obscure stuff. It's like he is begging his supporters to recognize that he is physically incapable of telling the truth. He also claims that he's unlikely to have to go through the courts because he's protected by, quote, presidential privilege.
And when we go through courts, if we ever even have to do it, because you have presidential privilege, and also we should never have to do that.
Okay, first of all, no to all of it. I don't know what planet Donald Trump is living on, but not only is there no uncertainty as to whether he'll have to go to court, but he is quite literally already going to court. Dude is contending with 91 criminal charges in 4 different jurisdictions. If he's wondering whether he'll have to go to court, I think that train has already left the station. But he caveats this with the claim that he's protected by presidential immunity. And this is what Trump likes to do: take a relatively obscure term and apply it to himself incorrectly while claiming that he's absolved of any and all wrongdoing. But this one is actually especially egregious because not only is Trump not protected by presidential privilege, or presidential immunity as it's actually called, but an appeals court just ruled this week that he isn't covered by presidential immunity. As a result, at least 3 civil lawsuits are going to move forward against him for his incitement of the insurrection on January 6th. According to the court's opinion, quote, the president does not spend every minute of every day exercising official responsibilities, and when he acts outside the functions of his office, he does not continue to enjoy immunity. When he acts in an unofficial private capacity, he is subject to civil suits like any private citizen. In other words, Donald Trump wants you to believe that everything he did while he was in office was covered by presidential immunity. And so he could incite insurrections, he could block the certification of the election results, hell, he could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue if he really wanted to, because he's president and the president isn't subject to any laws while he's in office, right? Not so much. Presidential immunity only covers actions that a president takes that comport with his presidential oath. And since inciting an insurrection was outside of the scope of his presidential duties, he is personally liable for it and doesn't get to fall back on claims of immunity. Although, I guess we shouldn't be surprised that Donald Trump believed that he was the king of America. And finally, how could I forget this?
We want to redo the election only from the standpoint, we want that election, we want to look at it very carefully. We have so much information.
That Donald Trump wants to redo the election. This guy's out here calling for a redo of an election that happened 3 years ago that was already litigated in over 60 losing cases by his own campaign and his own allies, and that he's currently heading toward trial for thanks to his inability to accept the results. I used to think that when you step on a metaphorical rake once, you learn your lesson. Apparently Donald Trump is trying to step on the rake enough times that it leaves a permanent imprint in his face. He even tries to justify this insane suggestion by offering up this lie.
Just the other day in Georgia, 3,600 votes that were duplicated so that you had double votes. Almost all of them were for Sleepy Joe Biden, right? Every single vote. You take a look what they do and what they play and what the Democrats have done for a long time, but it's a disaster.
That a court filing revealed that 3,600 duplicate ballots were cast for Biden and illegally counted in Fulton County, Georgia during the 2020 election. And I hope you're sitting down for this one, but that is all a complete lie. In reality, this is a months-old news report about errors made during an audit, not during the official ballot count. And during that audit, which was done by hand and one of 3 recounts to confirm the winner of the 2020 election in Georgia, human error contributed to the miscounting of a few dozen ballot batches. That's it. And more importantly, the whole point of the audits was to confirm that Joe Biden won the state, and all of them did find that he won the state. According to a member of the state election board, it's not supposed to be a 1-to-1 recount. A recount was also conducted, and that's a different thing altogether. The recount looked at the number of votes, and in fact, the count was valid. The audit is to identify whether or not the right candidate won. And recount after recount after recount confirmed that Joe Biden won the state of Georgia by about 12,000 votes. Of course, that won't stop Trump from lying, but you can see how he is physically incapable of not twisting quite literally everything that happens into a lie to suit his narrative. And of course, while Trump is very clearly in the throes of his delusion here, this isn't the first time that a Trump rally has devolved into a dementia seminar. Here's just a sprinkling of moments from just the last few weeks that puts Trump's tenuous mental state on full display.
They were interviewing him 2 weeks ago, and they said, what would you advise President Obama? The whole world seems to be exploding and imploding. And he said, it's very simple. He should immediately resign, and they should replace him with President Trump. As you know, crooked Joe Biden and the radical left thugs who have weaponized law enforcement to arrest their leading political opponent, and leading by a lot, including Obama. I'll tell you what, you take a look at Obama and take a look at some of the things that he's done. This is the same thing. The country was very divided. And we did with Obama. We won an election that everyone said couldn't be won.
Brian, it's all coming through Iran, and Obama he doesn't want to talk about it. He doesn't even mention them in his statements. It's all coming through Iran.
Well, you mean President Biden. So, but right now...
I also mean Obama.
What do you mean?
I mean Obama and Biden, but Obama is Biden's boss.
You know, I was very honored as a man. Viktor Orban, anyone ever hear of him? He's probably like one of the strongest leaders anywhere in the world. And he's the leader of... Right? He's the leader of Turkey, fronts on both Russia. And a very big hello to a place where we've done very well, Sioux Falls. Thank you very much, Sioux Falls. And thank you. So, Sioux City, let me ask you, I'm for us. You know how you spell us, right? You spell us, U.S. I just picked that up. Has anyone ever thought of that before? I just picked that up. A couple of days I'm reading and it said us. And I said, you know, if you think about it, us equals U.S. Isn't that? We have a man who is totally corrupt and the worst president in the history of our country, who is cognitively impaired, in no condition to lead, and is now in charge of dealing with Russia and possible nuclear war. Just think of it. We would be in World War II very quickly.
So I get that these rallies are intended to help Donald Trump, but all they're doing is serving as a blinking red light to his supporters that their brilliant candidate is about as sharp as a plastic spoon. Before you go, I need some help. Please subscribe to this channel and do your part to help grow the progressive media ecosystem. I don't do sponsorships or paid ads, I won't ask for money, but just subscribing to this channel goes a really long way, and it helps get the message out to more people. The subscribe button is right here on the screen. You can also subscribe to my Spanish language channel, which I made to reach those crucial Spanish-speaking voters. That link is on the screen too. And finally, if you want to listen to my audio podcast, you can follow that link as well. Thanks so much for watching.